Hi guys, before we get started today, it's just a quick reminder that we've got a fantastic little Facebook group going at the moment. It's a place you can come and be updated on the podcast, on the different shows that have been released. It's quite a friendly place. You can come and have a discussion. You can come and ask questions. You can come and suggest things for the show. We've got quite a few active, lovely members who have actually come to consider friends. And, we want more friends of the show. And to be honest, we can't do that without you. So, if you feel like it's something you'd be interested in, just click the link in the description and we hope to see you there. And now, without further ado, we'll carry on with today's Slenderman episode. Cue the intro.
Welcome to Bizarre Podcast.
In 2009, a website named the Something Awful Forum held a Photoshop contest. The aim was to create creepy paranormal images. One of the forum users, a Mr. Eric Knudsen, who was using the pseudonym Victor Surge, entered the contest and submitted 2 black and white images of groups of children, to which he added his own creation. A tall, thin, creepy character with no face, wearing a black suit. And so it was that on June the 10th, 2009, the Slender Man was born. Eric also added small supplements of text that gave a little insight to the history of the fictional photograph, which showed the creepy elongated faceless man standing with the children. Under the first image it read, "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified us and comforted us at the same time." And then underneath this sentence it read, 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. And the quote from the second image read, "One of 2 recovered photographs from the Stirling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referenced to as the Slender Man, deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later, actual photograph confiscated as evidence." And underneath it read, 1986, photographer Murray Thomas, missing since June the 13th, 1986. As confusing as these sentences may be, these small snippets of text help bring the character alive, and very soon more members of the website started to expand on the character, fleshing out the story of the Slender Man. Eric later stated, he was inspired by many different things when creating the Slender Man. His main inspirations came from the works of author Stephen King, the Mothman, the many sightings of shadow people, and the Resident Evil computer game franchise. It wasn't long before Slenderman started to appear in horror stories on a website named Creepypasta. This is a site where users can create horror fiction for others to read. It was here that the Slenderman character was passed around from user to user and became an instant urban legend. It wasn't long before the creation of Slenderman went viral. On numerous websites, fan art was created for the character, which added more elements to his appearance. On some of these images he was shown as an unnaturally tall, thin, pale figure, with no face, just a blank fleshy void, which still somehow seemed to stir into your soul. He wore a black suit, with horrifying tentacles that sprouted from his back, and in some images, it seems that these tentacles are used to grab or intimidate his prey. It has been said that he has some kind of hypnotic power that he likes to use on children and adults alike. He also inflicts an overpowering sickness feeling that is called the Slender Sickness, as he takes you away with him, never to be seen again. Other stories tell of him killing and disemboweling children and adults alike, and then likes to impale their dead corpses from trees, or simply holding them from one hand as they have fits or seizures, and then he would proceed to tear off their arms and legs. In other tales he likes to toy with his prey, and send his victims mad by taunting them by maybe appearing without warning on a secluded road or woodland area, or peering through your bedroom window as you lie in bed at night, gradually sending you more and more mentally unstable. And then, when the time comes, he would lure you into his world, or maybe somehow make you his proxy, but ultimately, his motives remain a mystery. It wasn't long before the Slender Man began to appear in YouTube videos, small fan-made movies that were filmed in the found footage style, which were implied that the footage was real and Slenderman had been caught on tape. Next, Slenderman mobile and PC video games started to appear all over the internet. The first game was released in 2012, and it achieved over 2 million downloads within its first month of release. This just showed how popular the Slenderman was becoming. The very popular children's game Minecraft had also seemed to have been affected by the popularity of the Slenderman, with the inclusion of a character called the Enderman, who strikes an uncanny resemblance to the Slenderman. He appears with long arms and creepy eyes, and is completely black, and they cause havoc to the player by removing blocks that they have placed on their structures. The Slenderman had fast become a fan favourite, and was appearing all over the creepypasta websites as I mentioned, and YouTube, games, fan films, etc. But it seemed that a certain amount of concern was needed when Slenderman started to reach the school playgrounds, where children were telling the creepypasta stories between each other. Unfortunately, two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin had become convinced that the fictional character was very much real, and they had both come to the conclusion that they must murder their 12-year-old classmate in order to please a Slenderman. And what I'm about to tell you is no work of fiction. On May the 31st, 2014, 12-year-old Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser lured their 12-year-old classmate, Peyton Leitner, into a woodland secluded area and proceeded to stab her 19 times. The girls had all attended a sleepover at Morgan's house, celebrating her birthday. Morgan's mother recalls the girls waking up that morning and enjoying a breakfast of strawberries and donuts, before asking if they may go to the park, to which Morgan's mother said yes. Whilst at the park, Morgan suggested that they play hide and seek. Peyton didn't want to play, but was promised that she could choose to play whatever she wanted after the quick game of hide and seek was over, so Peyton agreed. Peyton was lured deep into a woodland area where they attacked Peyton and pinned her to the ground. They then brought out a knife and proceeded to pass it back and forth between each other. Morgan eventually took the knife whilst Anissa encouraged her to stab Peyton by shouting, "You do it! Go ballistic! Go crazy!" And as Peyton lay defenceless, Morgan started stabbing the 12-year-old girl all over her body. A total of 19 stab wounds were inflicted upon her. Morgan and Lisa then fled the scene, leaving Peyton covered in blood, fighting for her life. Incredibly, Peyton managed to drag herself through the dirt towards the roadside, where luckily a cyclist just happened to be passing by, after deciding to take a different route that day instead of his usual one. The cyclist managed to take out his mobile phone and ring for help with shaking hands. And whilst they waited for help, he asked who had done this to her. And heartbreakingly she replied, "My best friends." Whilst Peyton was recovering in hospital, the search for the two attackers continued, and a few hours later they were both found wandering the woods. When the police brought them in for questioning, they were shocked to hear the girls' motive to the horrible crime. Apparently both girls had come to believe that the Slenderman was a real entity, and that they had both become increasingly afraid after reading multiple creepypasta articles. They had come to believe that the Slenderman was coming to kill them and their family, and the only way to stop this from happening was to offer him a sacrifice by killing Peyton. And in return they believed that they would be accepted by the Slenderman and invited to stay in his castle in the forest, and he would make them his proxies. Both girls showed little remorse for what they did, and stated that it was totally necessary to do what they did, and the prospect of meeting the Slenderman was very exciting to them. Both girls were charged as adults. Lisa was given 25 years in a psychiatric hospital, and Morgan was given 40 years in a mental hospital. And Peyton was very lucky, and I'm happy to say recovered from her wounds, and is alive and well. After this horrific crime was reported worldwide, a woman came forward and told a reporter that her 13-year-old daughter had attacked her with a knife and had written disturbing texts on the walls of their home involving the Slenderman. Another incident also came to light and described how a 14-year-old girl set her family home on fire one night as her family slept in their beds. She fled the house, leaving her mother and her 9-year-old brother asleep in bed. Luckily, the mother was woken up by the fire alarms and made it out of the burning house. It It was later discovered that the girl had been reading a lot of creepypasta Slenderman stories and violent graphic novels, and although she showed remorse, she stated that she would indeed do it again if she had to. Before I end this episode, I'll leave you with one final thought. Could the Slenderman possibly be a tulpa? There are some that believe that the Slenderman may have left his fictional world and somehow become real as a modern day bogeyman in our world. A tulpa is an old Tibetan Buddhist practice that is the manifestation of a thought form that has been given so much energy and attention that it has become self-efficient and sentient in our world and can eventually act totally independently of your own consciousness and can form their very own free will and have memories and emotions. It is thought that maybe the Slenderman has been brought to life by the power of every mind on the planet who has ever shown interest in the creepy, faceless, unnaturally tall spectre, feeding life into a fictional character, making him, in a manner of speaking, real. And when you think about it, maybe, just maybe, we are doing the exact same thing right now. I'll leave you with that thought. And as always, I'll let you decide. I'll see you next time.